Hey everyone, this is Mike Wolf. This is the Editors Roundtable podcast. We do these every once in a while. I'm going to try and do them more often. Myself and the editorial crew, including Chris Albrecht, Jen Marston, and Catherine Lamb, sit around the virtual table and talk about some of the news of the week. And so I hope you enjoy this. Before we get started, just another note. I mentioned this in the last podcast. We are actually going to be renaming the podcast to the Food Tech Show with Michael Wolf. And the reason we're doing that is because we talk about a lot of other things. We talk a lot about kitchen tech, smart kitchen, but also about a lot of other things. And so we just thought it made more sense. So just keep an eye out for that. In the next few days, we'll be renaming it. You don't have to do anything if you're subscribed to the podcast. Just keep subscribing and it'll just change. And you'll still get it in your podcatcher or your podcast app, whatever they call it nowadays. Also, before we get started, I just want to mention we are coming down to the last couple of weeks of June. We're almost in mid-June. And if you want to get the best price on tickets you're going to get for the rest of this year for Smart Kitchen Summit, you want to go to smartkitchensummit.com. Use the discount code podcast to get a great discount on top of that. But yeah, if you want to meet Chris, Catherine, myself, Jen Marston, and a lot of the other people we talked to in the podcast, you'll want to go to smartkitchensummit.com. We got a lot of great things planned for this show, which we'll be detailing and unveiling soon. But just check it out, smartkitchensummit.com. All right, that's it for now. Let's get to the conversation with the Spoon Team. It's the Editors Roundtable. I'm excited to have us. It's been a little while since we've done this, guys. Welcome back to the Roundtable.
Hooray!
Yay!
Yay!
Woo! Yeah! And I have sound effects today. And I plan to use them. So I will use them judiciously. I won't go crazy, but we do have some interesting things to talk about. One of them, the things I got thinking about, guys, is I wrote a story this morning about the Tetra dishwasher, countertop dishwasher. It was kind of the hit of the show 2 years ago. I want to buy one. It's only $2.99. It's this dishwasher that only washes dishes in 10 minutes, uses way less water. I have to ask you guys, who would use one of these? Because I think I would. I don't know if my wife would, but Catherine, I think you live in an apartment. Would you want one of these things?
Well, I don't think I really saw it at CES, so I'm wondering, how many dishes how big are we talking here?
It's like a place setting. If you have a dinner with a friend, it'll wash that up pretty much. That's about it.
I just feel like it almost would be more work and
too small,
just a counter effort than to just wash it in my sink. But, I don't know, if it looks really cool, which it seems like it does in the photo, I could see that being something that I eventually get.
Okay. Well, that answer's wrong. Jen, your turn.
Yeah, I agree. We'll try.
Okay.
Jen, can you give the correct answer?
I will try. Hopefully there's a sound effect to indicate if I have. Yes. So actually, I would buy one of these in a heartbeat, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is I've spent my adult life living in cities where a dishwasher is it's not a guarantee. I don't think one apartment I lived in all my years in San Francisco had a dishwasher, and one so far of my New York apartments have had a dishwasher. So it seems like a luxury to me to actually have any kind of device that will help wash the dishes. And two, for me, if it's just, a day's worth of dishes for one person or maybe two people tops that a machine like that could handle, I think it makes a lot of sense. Because otherwise, if you've got a regular sized dishwasher, what are you going to wait every week to run it while it fills up? So I think in certain situations, it makes much more sense than one of the regular sized ones. I think there's a lot of situations where it wouldn't make sense if you've got a family of 6, for example. But me personally, yes, I would definitely use that machine.
All right. You win the prize.
Sound effects.
Hey, Chris, It sounds like you would want one as well.
Yeah, look, I have a dishwasher, and I would still want one of these. It's partially,
it's crazy.
I like gadgets, but I also there are times when I just want to run a quick thing, and I don't want to. You shouldn't run the dishwasher if it's not full. And there are just times when there are just 1 or 2 glasses that I want to wash or whatever, and have them available, or a quick rinse. Plus, instead of it being in the sink, this will get it. The Heatworks is a heating company, so like this will get it hot enough to really, clean the dishes instead of just some crusty old scrub brush that's sitting in a cup on the side of the sink with tepid water.
Yeah.
Or, kind of hot water, but not super hot. Anyway, I'm in. I think it's great. I still want one. I don't need one.
Same here. Same. The thing, first of all, it looks great. It's like the sexiest dishwasher you'll ever see. Second, I do think like the environmental footprint, like the amount of water it uses is way less, which I like that concept. And I just feel like there's tons of people in smaller places, like an apartment in New York City or like somewhere in Tokyo that maybe would just want a smaller one. Or if you just have a specific use case, like you have babies and you want to run baby bottles, I think it makes a lot of sense. But guys, this was just a warm up for the next topic because we're going to have, I think, we're going to part ways, I think, a little bit on this next topic. Catherine, you did
This might be the breakup.
This may be the breakup of the
right
spoon.
here.
We made some fractures. You had a great wrap up this week or late last week, Catherine, on grilling plant-based meat. And inspired by you, I actually went out and bought some Beyond Burgers because my mom was coming over, my mom and dad, and we barbecued. Generally, I will say this. We weren't happy with the Beyond Burgers. Everyone around the table, my mom, my wife, and I just didn't like the taste of it. But you and Chris really love these things.
Well, lay out your qualms for me. I'm curious, like, what did you not like about it?
Well, I will say, A, they're too thick. Like, I don't know why to make them so thick. B, I just have a problem with the color being too pink. Like, I don't necessarily want to eat an inch thick raw beef patty, which that's an impression I get. And C, and this is admittedly probably because it was 1.0, and I know that the news is coming out that they're rolling out 2.0. It just the mouthfeel and the taste was a little bit off. And my wife really had a problem with this. She just thought the taste was off. And it gets back to that article that I always refer to that Ali Bouzari wrote, the idea of the uncanny valley of meat. It was like 10% off like what the taste should be from real beef. So it was just a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first and then let Chris jump in because I know he's a vocal advocate of Beyond Meat, as am I. And full disclosure, I don't eat regular meat, so I know that my view might be skewed. But I do like Beyond Meat. The people that I've fed it to, like when I did my grilling test last week, I had a couple friends over who are meat eaters. They weren't fooled or anything. Like they knew it's Beyond Meat. But I still think it just tastes good. Like I actually had one this weekend with my family. My mom and I split one. And she's like, yeah, I don't think it's meat. It's got this sort of like spongy texture that isn't quite beef-like, but the flavor is really good. And it's got that nice like umami-ness that you get from a really juicy beef burger. So I still just like it.
Yeah. I fed it to my family. My son doesn't even know the difference. Admittedly, he's only 8, right? So he doesn't have a ton, but he eats burgers. He eats regular beef burgers, and I've fed him Beyond Burgers. I've just not told him. And he doesn't care. He mouths it down. I agree with you. It's not perfect, but I'm also not looking for it to be a meat. I'm not looking. I don't want to eat meat. Basically, the reasons I'm eating it are more like environmental and ethical more than anything. And that's not even. I'm not even a vegetarian. But I'm curious to try this new recipe that they just released this week. Right, like.
Yeah, I think they just announced it today, and they're really trying to address the texture issue. I think the main difference is that it now has what they're calling marbling, like beef. So the fat kind of, instead of, it weaves throughout in a way that's supposed to melt and make the texture better, and the fat is coconut oil and cocoa butter. And also, Mike, to address your point about it being this eerie pink, which it is, it's sort of almost neon because it uses beet juice. They added apple extract in there so that when you cook the burger, it turns from bright pink to a more brown color and apparently looks more like beef. So, they hear our complaints. We're not the only ones. And I'm eger to see if the new version.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm all for trying a second recipe. And I'll let Jen, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's all right. But
I also wonder, like, if I often wonder if it's because I'm cooking it or versus a restaurant. Because I'll tell you, I like Impossible a lot more. The flavor of it, and every time I have it, it's in like a Red Robin or a restaurant where they seem to know what they're doing. So I have yet to have a Beyond Burger in a restaurant. I just wonder if it'd make a difference.
Yeah, you actually read my mind, Mike, because that's what I was going to bring up was, Catherine, obviously you have a lot of experience with cooking Beyond Meat products, especially since you don't eat meat. And Chris, I know you're really enthusiastic about trying out all those different products. So my issue that I always run into is I just don't like the taste of them because I've always assumed I just don't know how to cook them properly. I mean, if you read the instructions on the box, it seems pretty straightforward, but and I've been trying to enjoy Beyond Burgers since pretty much they were available to buy in stores. I just feel like either the heat distribution within the patty is off, or we've talked about the texture, or they just sort of, they taste, not like meat, but there's also something a little bit artificial about the taste to me, which, is not, compare that to just a grass-fed burger, and it doesn't stack up to me.
Well, that's a complaint that a lot of people have too. Like, it's artificiality. People are trying to push back against that, saying, "What is it actually healthy? Is it a better alternative than just getting an organic grass-fed burger for your body?" There's a lot of debate around that. I don't think.
Well, Catherine, you're reciting the talking points of Big Meat. Are you in the pocket of Big Meat?
No, not on anyone's payroll. What are you talking about?
I think it can be a little tricky too. I've had trouble just like frying it. The best results I've had are like roasting it in the June, which has a special Beyond Burger program.
So high tech.
And well, before that I used it just for the regular burgers, but I have noticed like it's really easy to sort of scorch the outside on like a grill. And so I think it definitely is. There are some tricks to it to sort of finesse it to get everything to bring it all up. But you, Jen, and Mike are both wrong. So there we go. Next topic.
Moving on. Well, we do have another topic, and this is one that I think is interesting. Chris, you wrote a piece this week about essentially what is becoming the robot backlash as grocery stores and restaurants roll out these robots. Workers are wondering what their place is in this future, and then some of the people in the aisles are getting a little bit creeped out. Tell us about it, Chris.
Yeah, so we write a lot about robots here, and grocery. You look at Walmart and Ahold Delhaize. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Stop and Shop have employed these. And we're going to split it out to front of house robots, right? Like these are like shelf scanning robots and spill detecting robots that are basically tall. I think they're like 6 feet tall or something, cylindrical things that roam around on wheels. Stop and Shop even puts googly eyes on theirs for Lord knows why.
It's truly disturbing.
But what's happened is ideally robots are supposed to take over the manual repetitive tasks or even the dangerous tasks to free up humans to do other things. That's what Walmart always says, right? Like humans can do more customer service if they don't have to do a restock, don't have to roam the aisles to see if there's any missing, Nestle's Quick from the aisle. But what's happening is that I think what we're seeing is sort of a version 1.0 of all this, where the robots are still kind of buggy. They don't work like they're supposed to. They're expensive. Like the Stop and Shop Marty robot, I believe, is $35,000. And they're sort of limited in functionality. Marty literally just goes around looking for spills, but doesn't do anything about it. It just evidently gets on the intercom and goes, "There's cleanup on aisle 4 or whatever," just repeatedly until someone comes and cleans it up, which I would be annoyed by that too. So, it's tough. And also, people just don't know how to interact them when they're shopping. There are no robots where I shop right now, and I don't know how I would react. I mean, well, I would be all giddy and take pictures of it. But, if you're the average person just shopping and there's a giant robot blasting a light down, a row of shelves as it's taking inventory, that's not something you expect.
The googly eyes are funny. Like, I think they're trying to make them cute and like have a personality, but it almost seems like it's having the opposite effect. Like, what's up with the gigantic eyes on this thing?
Well, yeah, because it's like looking at you.
And it's like the Kiwi, the little autonomous delivery bot, they have a face that changes expression, and that serves a purpose of like trying to get people to, empathize with the robot and not mess with it while it's out delivering you your late night burrito or whatever. But in the grocery aisles, first of all, I think they just did it a weird way with the googly eyes because like just is creepy as all get out.
Extremely tall, isn't it?
Super tall. It's the Jonah Ryan of robots.
It's the Joe bot.
The stuff of nightmares.
Well, I think also, as I wrote, like this seems to be sort of a short-term issue, especially when it comes to things like inventory management and spill detection, because there are a bunch of startups trying to retrofit retailers with high-tech cameras and sensors that basically like an Amazon Go that keep track of everything in the store all the time and faster than a robot would. So this type of implementation is probably, may not be the best, but it's also like more of a stopgap, I think.
Mm-hmm. You think there's still going to be a lot of automation back of house, though, for grocery?
I think so. You look at companies like Takeoff, which is partnered with Sedano's and Albertsons and Ahold Delhaize, and those are more for like speedy fulfillment. Mm-hmm. So they are these systems on rails and totes that can quickly process an online order in like a half an hour, so that you could be at home or on the go and go like, oh, I need to pick up a bunch of stuff, hop on your phone, shop for it, swing by, pick it up, or it could be out for delivery. But those are more about logistics and getting things out quickly. And people don't interact with those. Those are literally in the back of the store or in some dedicated warehouse. So you don't have any sort of creepy factor with those.
Last story of the day, well, at least the last story we have up for topic. I want to ask you guys if you would be into someone from Walmart, a delivery person coming into your house and dropping off your groceries in your fridge, because this is something that they basically unveiled this past week. It was thank you, Walmart. It was this thing called Project Franklin. I speculated what Project Franklin was. Then like a day later, they actually came out and told us what it was, which made me I would have waited a day. They just give me a little heads up. But more seriously, it's this idea where they have like an August doorbell or smart lock at the front door. They have access through an app because you've opted in, and then they deliver the groceries, drop them off into your refrigerator, and you get them when you get home. So it makes a little bit of sense, right? Like you don't have your fridge, you don't have groceries sitting on the front door, getting cold, getting warm, milk getting warm. But also it does have some concerns for some people. I think having someone you don't know come into your house, some privacy concerns, having access to your home. So I have to ask you, Jen, would you want some Walmart dude just walking in your house and dropping off your groceries in your fridge?
And did they mention anything about, do they background check these people or anything like that?
They didn't. I mean, I'm sure they do, but they didn't. They said specific training.
Okay. I mean, to me, it's not that creepy of an idea, to be honest, because I think of something like housekeeping services where, whether you're going through some company or it's just somebody that you happen to know, there are plenty of people out there who give a set of keys to their housekeeper, and those people go in and take care of the house while they're out, and they're moving stuff around. I don't think it's any more potentially creepy or invasive to privacy than other services that already exist.
Catherine, how about you?
Yeah, I personally wouldn't use this service. It doesn't bother me. Like Jen said, I mean, the idea of having like a housekeeper come or something doesn't really bother me. And I feel like if there's a background check, which inevitably I'm assuming there will be, it doesn't bother me from like a privacy standpoint. It's more like, first of all, I like actually going shopping for my groceries like many Americans do. So I wouldn't really want to order them online. And then I also I have a very exacting way where I put all my stuff away. Like I like some things in this part of the fridge, some places in this part of the fridge. My pantry is very organized. And I don't know if the person putting all that stuff away would adhere to my strict kitchen organization guidelines. That's me. I did pull my parents on this, who are like a little more old school traditional, and they were like very off put by this idea and like laughably thought it was so invasive.
Do your parents do things like Airbnb or Uber or like kind of those new school?
They don't really. I forced them to do an Airbnb for this vacation that we just went on, and they were like really weirded out by it. So maybe that just goes along with it. Like they're not in the sharing economy mindset.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a little bit generational. Those who are like Chris and I are just firmly in the Gen X camp. We're probably just more a little adventurous because we like to try new technology. But I do think there's a generational thing here where people might just be okay with letting people have access to their home if they're younger. Chris, are you okay with this?
I'm not, but then again, I'm not younger. But the one thing we should say is that the delivery person so you grant them access to your house, and upon arrival, they live stream the entire time, as they're approaching the door and as they go into the house, right? So there is an app you can watch the entire process on. So it's not like you're just like, oh yeah, go on in, do whatever you want, right? Like Walmart has put in place, the driver will wear a camera. So there is that.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think Amazon had a similar kind of drop off the things in your home using their key platform. And I think that they also had it tied to like an in-home video recording concept where they're basically allowing you to monitor what's going on.
They flipped it a little bit. So the cameras, you get the cloud connected camera that they work with. Yeah. So the driver isn't wearing one, but you have access to you stream the entire thing, right? It sends you all kinds of alerts.
I'm just waiting for like the reality TV version of this, like grocery, like instead of cops, you have grocery deliverers.
Well,
no.
I think we've just stumbled on the new division of the Spoon.
Yeah,
reality programming. I would rather than letting somebody into my house. One of the things you see happening in like China in apartment buildings that I think JD.com came up with, or Alibaba, I can't remember now. Is these sort of temperature controlled lockers that sit outside your home. And I would much rather see a system where like you either build out into a new home, some kind of delivery drop off, like almost like you're turning in books at the library, like some kind of lock shelf that uses a smart lock that they could drop it into with some temperature control facets. So then it's less somebody coming into my house and more being able to have that flexibility for something to be dropped off without it spoiling before I got home.
I have to be honest. That idea of a lockbox outside your home is one that I'm surprised hasn't taken off. I actually have a friend who actually listened to my podcast quite a bit when I did the Smart Home Show, and a guy named Joe. Hey, Joe, if you're out there, he's actually trying to build one of these. And so I think that there's a possibility for this. I think giving consumers a range of options. One of the things Amazon's done is allow people to drop things off in the trunk of your car. Mm-hmm. I think they've also opened up garage-based delivery. I just think everyone has their own peculiarities and living situations. So this is, I think, one of a menu of options. I think that the grander idea is just creating like a service platform to allow people to deliver into whatever receptacle that you have available. And I think that, August, going back to kind of the smart home world, August Smart Lock was really the one that pioneered this concept of making the Smart Lock, at least, a service platform rather than just a piece of hardware. So I do think this idea of enabling and using smart home technology to allow for delivery is going to be way more important as we move towards like this world where it seems like everyone's having everything delivered, right? So I just feel like this is something that's going to gain traction. But kudos to your point, Chris. I think the idea of like a safe delivery box is one I think should get more traction. I don't know why no one's really taken off of that.
Yeah, because they have that for like lunches, right? But not for grocery delivery to your home.
Well, yeah, I mean, this would be, it's the idea of, I've seen places like at CES, like people have built a door with like a collapsible cargo thing built into the back. But, I think the idea of adding some sort of temperature control to it would be, and who knows, Amazon bought into that prefab housing company last year. Maybe they'll build an Amazon, either a home for their robot or a drop-off box.
Smart parcel box.
Right. This is all until Amazon has that robot that goes and fetches your milk for you and brings it back.
That's on its way.
Mm-hmm.
No, we'll see who's against robots then when they have the smart robot milk fetcher. Well, guys, this has been fun as always. I appreciate you getting on the call, and I hope you enjoyed this new podcast format with sound effects. I don't know if we're going to bring them back. We'll have to take like an audience poll. Do we bring the sound effects back? Let's go around the horn. Catherine, more sound effects? Absolutely. Chris?
Yeah, if you could tie in that David Lee Roth soundboard, that would be even better.
I only have 2 right now. I'm sorry, guys. You give a guy like me a soundboard. I'm like a little kid. So I appreciate it. Jen, sound effects?
Oh, always. Yeah, I'd say the more sound effects, the better.
All right.
We're unanimous.
We'll bring back. That doesn't mean the audience likes them, though.
That's true.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
All right.